It's an annual event dating back to the time of the Great American Frontier, one of the world's largest outdoor rodeo arenas. Original wooden covered grandstands. The fun, the crowd, the ride.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 97th edition of Nebraska's Big Rodeo here at Burwell.
Across the decades of tradition, Burwell's reputation extends beyond its place as the largest rodeo in Nebraska.
The thing that makes this rodeo really special and guys want to come here is that when in your travel and if you're in this business, you hear about Burwell, you know, and when you pull up here, I mean, you look at this arena and it just kind of looks like the way things used to be. This is cowboy country. It really, really means something here.
Are you ready for this, folks? Capacity crowd tonight in Burwell. Who? Shotgun start, and there we go. Who off to the races here? Who's going to take it? Peggy's got the binoculars over here because I don't know.
Our town's based on the Western tradition, and this is it. When you think of Burwell, you think of Nebraska's Big Rodeo.
Every year, generations of rodeo fans and cowboys have marked their calendars to share in this rare piece of Western tradition. And for some of them, a lifetime of memories.
It's special to me because I always wanted to be a cowboy, and that was about the only rodeo there was in this area at that time. Them cowboys is my heroes. I've seen probably every world champion that's been for 50 years has been in this arena.
All right, we as a stock contractor, we like to provide entertainment for the fans, along with turning out good horses and bulls with high point rides, and also bucking a few guys off to make it entertaining because everybody likes to see a good wreck.
Over 500 contestants from all over the world, and I say that 25 states, 77 national finals, 17 world champions. It's under the banner and sanction of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association.
You know, when you nod your head in the bucking chutes and you're on a bull or a bareback horse, and I used to ride bareback horses when I was a steer wrestler. Again, you're in a zone, but it's just more effort, more try, more guts than you're gonna see in anybody. You know, and there's a mutual respect because, you know, you're gonna try 110%, but you know that animal, it's not his first time, and he's gonna try 110%. So it's man against beast, and you just gotta do your job and beat him doing his job that day. But man, the rush and then the crowd's going, and if everything works out right for you, you know the crowd screaming and hollering, and you know that the judges like what you just did, and you know right there is possibly a paycheck that's gonna kind of propel you to the next level and get you some points to go to the NFR. No better feeling in the world, man. But on the other hand, in the agony of defeat, you look at that animal and you tip your hat to him and say, you know what? Another day, another time, I will be back. It's no quit on a cowboy.
Charge it front! Charge!
Nestled on the eastern edge of the sandhills of central Nebraska, in a town of just over 1,000 people, these spectators and participants are welcomed by a ready community, eager to do their part, knowing that they will host tens of thousands of people throughout the weekend. This rodeo is held on the original 40 acres of grounds and facilities, which is listed with the National Registry of Historic Places.
This is such a great community event because it takes so many people in the community to put it on. There are a lot of volunteers that put in a lot of hard time and a lot of extra work into getting this rodeo ready.
We probably have over 150 just helping put the rodeo on. That's not counting the car parkers, that's not counting the food vendors.
The hard work of these volunteers, along with great community support, helps make Nebraska's Big Rodeo one of the most unique and entertaining rodeos in the country.
Here on Saturday afternoon, Big County, good job. Hang on,
Having traveled across the country going to other rodeos, I'll have to say in all honesty, with complete unbiased, that this is one of the most entertaining rodeos in the whole entire country, because you have not only this huge arena with all of the rodeo events going on in a pasture-like atmosphere for the contestants, but you have something going on all the time in the track, whether it's some type of a dinner bell derby, wild horse race, and all the action is right there, right where the audience can see it, and it truly is a form of entertainment besides just a rodeo.
Let's do it. Watch the passes coming around in the sharp grass bend.
From volunteers to fans, from board members to contestants, this rodeo has been cherished and passed down from generation to generation.
I think it's really important that we continue to encourage future generations to be a part of rodeo because, one, there is a historical aspect to it. This is how past generations gathered their cattle, doctored their cattle. This is how they fed the country. And as our country progresses to using more equipment, faster, bigger, better, that's what we're going for. Rodeo needs to continue to match that. And so now rodeo is almost a production. There's music, there's lights, there's video, there's everything like that. So if we continue to use our future generations' talents and interests, we can continue to grow rodeo to last for another 100 years.
The 4-night professional rodeo is just one of the events held during this weekend. Locals and visitors find additional entertainment at the parade, the Kids Rodeo, the Garfield County Fair, and at businesses throughout Burwell.
You start with the board members and their spouses, and it feathers out, and everybody in town helps, everybody. And if you go down the streets of Burwell, there's not one person you're going to talk to that is not doing something for this event to happen. They're either opening their doors and having someone stay with them, or they're down here working and making the event run smooth.
Of course, living in a smaller town, the economic benefits of having a huge PRCA rodeo like Nebraska's Big Rodeo triples and quadruples the amount of foot traffic that we have coming into the community to do business. And so not only is it beneficial to a Western store, which is a natural fit, but it's beneficial to all the hotels, the gas stations, the restaurants. So having an event like this in a town of just 1,200 is very vital to keep us going for at least a good half of the year.
Although the community depends on this event, economic prosperity is just a byproduct of something much more valuable.
My favorite part about the Burwell Rodeo, now that I've had the opportunity to travel across the state, across the country as a representative, is just coming back to a community that truly loves the sport of rodeo. Everywhere you go, the town is advertising the rodeo. Many people take off. They have signs on the windows. And I just love that Burwell brings back the historical factor and stays true to our Western way of life.
I remember the first time I came here, I thought I was lost. You know, the sign said about 675 population. My paperwork said there'll be 30,000 people through here in 5 days. But man, it's so what I call Americano. It's people that care about their kids, care about their neighbors, and care about their crops and their equipment and just making a living. I mean, really good blue collar, roll your sleeves up, do what you have to do that day, and say what you mean what you say kind of people.
In a modern world of technology and fast-paced living, Burwell brings us back to a time where things are simple again, for at least 1 week out of each year.
I think the world needs more cowboys because the ideal of the cowboy is what we should uphold. That's why rodeos continue. The working hard, doing your best, and not always coming out on top. It's okay not to be the winner every single time, and that's what rodeo celebrates. The dedication, the hard work, the perseverance, those are all things we all need to carry and instill in our future generations. It's just like my grandparents and my parents that talked about the John Waynes. We don't need John Waynes, we need cowboys. We need the ideals of the historic cowboy that we've remembered. So I think we need to continue to push that in the future as we grow.
Nebraska's Big Rodeo is an unmatched experience for rodeo fans. And after nearly a century of rodeo action, there are no plans of slowing down. Will you be there for the next ride?
Good evening. Good evening to those of you in the physical attendance as well as digital attendance. I would like to welcome you to our evening session. As someone who is a 3-generation volunteer of Nebraska's Big Rodeo, I know our preview video tonight that some of you had the pleasure of seeing hopefully gave you a taste of one thing in my life that I've been very proud of, to call myself someone from Burwell, Nebraska, home of Nebraska's Big Rodeo. My great-grandpa, John Pokorny, was actually one of the original blacksmiths at the 1921 rodeo. My dad has been approximately a 60-year volunteer of the rodeo, and myself, I've been volunteering at the rodeo every year that I've been able to. And I'm happy to say that I've attended 42 years of rodeos, 4 performances each, and I've worked the ticket booth. So chances are if you've ordered a ticket, you've come across, and then typically my dad was the one who took your ticket. So as I say, the Nebraska's Big Rodeo is near and dear to my heart, and I'm happy that we can share this with you tonight. This story is the story of one that is of hardworking people, very much like the hardworking members of the DAR. It is the story of seeing and remembering things of the past, such as my cousin Randy working the chutes, or the stories my dad has told of driving Casey Tibbs's car when he was 8 years old to my grandpa's filling station to fill it up. Those stories are part of that Western heritage that I know each of us have pride in. Tonight, I would also like to help share with you another side of rodeo, and that is our featured speaker tonight, Kelly Carr-Augustine. Kelly Carr-Augustine is from Burwell, Nebraska, and is a professional photographer and lifelong rodeo advocate. She started her rodeo career as a child and won her first queen title at her first pageant at the age of 16. She earned many local titles throughout the state of Nebraska and earned various awards at the Miss Rodeo Nebraska pageant, including being a 3-time first runner-up and earning the coveted title of horsemanship. Her most prestigious title, however, was representing her hometown, Burwell, as Miss Burwell Rodeo in 2003. Since her days as a contestant, she has been a pageant coordinator, judge, sponsor, coach, and served as the official Miss Rodeo America photographer in 2012. Along with her mother, Becky, Kelly owns and operates KC Creations Photography in Burwell. The company will celebrate 10 years in business. Kelly earned her designation as a certified professional photographer in 2018, one of less than 20 certified professionals in the state of Nebraska. Kelly also works as a substitute teacher, enjoys volunteering with various youth organizations and school activities, and serves on her church worship team. She has been married to her husband, Justin, who is with us in the assemblage tonight, for over 3 years, and they have 4 fur babies named Bliss, Casey, Cooper, and Luxie. On a side note, Kelly has a very special place in my heart because of many of the events of this past year. She has been my photographer for my official state regent photos, which was actually one of my first opportunities to enjoy wearing the sash, a judge for my speech meet kids, and even most importantly, the past 3 weeks, she was actually my long-term substitute and took care of my students in my absence. I am beyond thankful for this friend and angel in my life, and it is my pleasure to welcome Kelly to speak with you tonight.
Kelly. Thank you for that nice introduction. Let's just say her kids missed her. Earlier this week, they said, "You are no Miss Kane." And I said, "I know, I'm ready for her to come back." Well, good evening. It's so wonderful to be here with you ladies of the Nebraska DAR, and what an honor it is to speak to you. I was very excited when Candace told me about her project, which is getting a historical marker at the grounds of Nebraska's Big Rodeo, which will celebrate its 100th year, 100th anniversary this year. So as she said, we're both residents of Burwell. We call it home. And so it's also near and dear to my heart. And I'm also, as she said, a former Miss Burwell Rodeo, making it even more special. Then she said she wanted a rodeo queen to be a speaker. And I thought, great, I'll get that lined up for you. I know lots of rodeo queens. I've got some connections. But I guess with the DAR's focus on history, she wanted a more historic figure. So that's where I come in. She wanted me to talk about a day in the life of a rodeo queen. And oddly enough, unlike her day job as a teacher and my day job as a photographer, the job of being a rodeo queen actually hasn't changed that much in the 18 years that it's been since I've worn the silver and turquoise crown of Miss Burwell Rodeo on my hat. Like the DAR, rodeo queens serve to educate, preserve history, and reflect patriotism in their job. Only their job has quite a bit of bling, furry four-legged friends, and promotes the greatest show on dirt, the sport of rodeo. Now, if you aren't familiar with the rodeo queen, think about a Miss America style pageant queen, only her crown sits atop a perfectly shaped cowboy hat, and her evening gowns are usually made of all leather from top to bottom and worn with a belt and boots instead of heels and a slit up to here. A lot less tape involved in rodeo queening than regular pageants. Rather than a talent like singing or dancing, her talent is riding a horse. And we're not talking about just trotting along in a little wave here and there. Oh no, a rodeo queen must be able to burst through a freshly opened gate on a full gallop, going from 0 to full out in about 2.3 seconds, carrying a flag in one hand and guiding her horse with the other. If she's honored to be the one to carry the flag of Old Glory to the familiar sounds of the Star-Spangled Banner, she must run in the gate at full speed, slow down, and stand in the middle of the arena at a reverent standstill as the anthem plays on. Now, many a queen has thrown a leg over a strange horse. You might be surprised to know that they don't often get to ride their own horses. And it turns out the horse has a few different ideas about this procedure than the queen does. They might decide they'd rather continue racing around the arena, do their impression of Trigger with their legs in the air, pace nervously in small circles, or worst of all, relieve themselves in front of thousands of people. Meanwhile, the rodeo queen's job is to sit there, look beautiful, and proudly display Old Glory, no matter what is going on around her. She's as tough as she is pretty, and that's just a small part of her job. Are you intrigued? Would you like to know more about this unique and often misunderstood job of a rodeo queen? Well, let me indulge you with a few more details, as well as dust some cobwebs off some personal stories about the life of a rodeo queen. Now, after spending several years living in places like Oklahoma and Texas, I became very familiar with the phrase, the higher the hair, the closer to Jesus. Now, pageant girls have often been known for their voluminous locks, but rodeo queens have a rather unique look. Enter the wings. No, rodeo queens aren't extra interested in avian studies or model for Victoria's Secret on the side. No, the wings are a special style of hair that does it outward around the ear, so it looks voluminous but also proper underneath a cowboy hat. The wings frame the face and show off the cowgirl's earrings. No rodeo queen's outfit is complete without earrings. One of the many things about a rodeo queen's appearance that matter. But let's talk first about how she actually gets this job in the first place. During rodeo pageant competition, a queen is judged on the categories of horsemanship, personality, and appearance. She must also compete in several personal interviews, as well as give a speech and answer impromptu questions. The horsemanship competition judges her riding ability, as well as her adaptability as contestants trade horses. It also usually includes a Q&A with the judges, where they will ask her questions regarding her knowledge of horse care, animal health, and rodeo knowledge in general. Being a top-notch rider is extremely important, but there's more to a great rodeo queen than just that. We've talked a little about her hair and her earrings, but winning the appearance category isn't about just being genetically blessed and having big hair, although it helps. A rodeo queen must be on her game at all times. This means a cowboy hat in every color, properly cleaned and professionally shaped to fit her face. Western style clothing that fits her properly. A pressed jean or skirt is appropriate. The skirts must be appropriate in length, never more than 2 inches above the knee, but usually all the way down to the ankle. Necklines must never show any cleavage, and shirts must be long sleeved or at least 3/4. High necklines and collars are highly encouraged. One of the reasons rodeo queens adhere to such a strict dress code is that they are representing the Western way of life and preserving the history and legacy that is the American cowboy. Growing up on a ranch, I had a true cowgirl education. I'll never forget being young, competing at a junior rodeo on one of those sweltering summer Saturdays with no breeze, unrelenting Nebraska sunshine, and the air thick with humidity. I wanted so badly to trade in my long sleeve shirt for a tank top and throw my long hair up in a bun on top of my head instead of wearing my cowboy hat. As I took my hat off my head to fan my face and contemplated tossing it in the pickup and forgetting it before the next round of competition, my dad came over and started a conversation. He said, "Do you like competing in rodeos?" And I said, "Well, of course." And he said, "Is this something you maybe want your kids to do someday?" And I said, "Absolutely. I can't imagine my life without rodeo." And that's when he just pounced with his dad wisdom. If you want your kids to enjoy what you're doing today, it's up to you to preserve the legacy of the Western lifestyle, which also means you wear the dress code even if you don't feel like it. Now, trust me when I say the cowboy dress code has been pretty much the same for centuries, and every piece of it has a purpose. The cowboy hat keeps his face and neck protected against sunburn and heat on days of that plentiful prairie sunshine as they moved cattle across the plains. Heard of the term redneck? Yeah, cowboys like to avoid that. That's also where the collared shirt comes in handy. The benefits of a long sleeve collared shirt on chilly days are fairly obvious, but in the summer months, long sleeves and a collar actually keep the cowboy or cowgirl cooler by preventing sunburn and overexposure to the elements. It also offers a layer of protection between yourself and whatever job you're doing, whether it's stringing fence, doctoring calves, or feeding the cattle. And speaking of protection, the cowboy boot is another essential you will always see on a rodeo queen and cowboy alike. Now, the cowboy boot was developed with the cowboy in mind. The bottom is slick leather to protect against elements like cactuses, rocks, slithery critters, mud. But the slick bottom is optimal for long days spent in the saddle. It makes it easy to slide in and out and get off and on without getting your foot hung up in the stirrup. However, the heel keeps your foot from sliding too far through the stirrup, also, which can be dangerous. Every piece of the cowboy wardrobe serves a purpose, which is why the rodeo queen represents their Western heritage by dressing in a similar fashion today. Now, she might add a whole lot of glitz and glam to the look, and I promise no cowboy ever decided to brand their cattle with glitter, although they probably could. But her wardrobe from top to bottom is part of her job to preserve the history of the sport of rodeo and the Western way of life, and she wears it proudly. Now that we've covered a bit about the life of a rodeo queen in the appearance and horsemanship portions, let's talk about another important part of the competition of her getting her job, the speech. Most rodeo queen competitions will have a prepared speech portion as well as an impromptu speech question. Now, these serve as more than just testing knowledge. It's very important for a rodeo queen to be well-spoken and knowledgeable so she can speak in front of a crowd and also educate others about the sport of rodeo, the Western lifestyle, and the many facets of agriculture. As a rodeo queen, one of the most important ways of preserving the history of the sport is to educate others about it. On any given day, rodeo queens can be found in classrooms talking to kids, on camera speaking to a television audience, or like myself a few years ago, on a shuttle bus to the airport in Las Vegas after a long 2 weeks at the National Finals Rodeo, trying to explain to a couple of city gals all about how the sport of rodeo has rules in place to treat their animals humanely and the like. A rodeo queen's job is truly never done, but being well-spoken and a passionate advocate for agriculture and the sport is one of the most important and least glamorous parts of the job. The last portion of the rodeo queen competition, but likely the most important, is the personality contest. Now, it's no secret that like politicians, pageant queens have to kiss a lot of babies and shake a lot of hands. Now, to do their job properly, the rodeo queen must represent to both industry professionals and the general public whose hearts they need to win. A rodeo queen is the bridge between the industry and the public. So while it's important to have a comprehensive knowledge of the sport and aspects of it, it's also incredibly important to be able to educate others without boring them to tears. Those of you with eyes watering, I see you. Now, for a rodeo queen, that can be somewhat of a challenge because for many of us, we select our professions based on an age group that we connect better with. Those of you that are teachers are typically either elementary or high school, and there's not much in between. With my jobs, I feel really comfortable with teenagers, whether I'm taking senior pictures behind my camera or in Candace's classroom talking about the properly using the word vociferous. Now, put me at a wedding with screaming children cutting in front of my shot of the bride and groom dancing for the first time, or in an elementary PE classroom, and I am in over my head. But a rodeo queen, she has to be able to color with the kindergartners, hold the attention of junior high kids that she's trying to educate, carry on a conversation with business professionals at a local Rotary or Junior League event at lunch, spend her afternoon putting smiles on the faces of the elderly in nursing homes, and converse with her own industry pros. Like many public figures, she must learn to always smile, even when she doesn't feel like it, and to be a problem solver. Many a rodeo queen has had to learn to make adjustments on the fly, and I count it as one of my own personal, most important life lessons. It's also important that her behavior is above reproach, and she's a role model to those around her. Now, rodeo queens are discouraged, you might be surprised, from having boyfriends and also being on their phones while in public. And obviously, drinking and other like activities are strictly forbidden. Now, some states take this even further. For instance, the state of Colorado has a rule in their rule book against singing while driving the Miss Rodeo Colorado truck. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like if a rule has to be made, it's usually because somebody has so egregiously stepped over the line that a new rule has to be in place to prevent future people from doing that. And I have to wonder what rodeo queen had such a terrible singing voice that she offended the entire state of Colorado in her truck, and they had to make a rule about it. But I digress. A winning personality does play a major role in being a successful rodeo queen. So what does a day in the life of a queen actually look like? Well, if it's a busy rodeo day, for starters, she's going to be up very early to perfect those wings and get her makeup on extra well. It probably will be the last time she sees the mirror all day. Her first task might be the rodeo parade, so she throws on something blingy and heads out to get her horse ready. She will be wearing chaps and waving to the crowd as she walks through, so she has to practice perfecting that wave and the smile. After the parade is over and her horse is properly taken care of, she heads to an autograph signing, where hordes of small children get in line to get her photo, an inspiring line of wisdom. After this, she's whisked away to a lunch with sponsors where she politely eats what's put in front of her and graciously says thank you to the business owners who are kind enough to feed her. It might be her first and last meal of the day. Next, they regale her with, she heads to a nursing home where she spends time with the residents, listening as they regale her with stories of their rodeo experiences past. After her visit, she will probably pay a call to other local sponsors and perhaps pop back into her host home, as many rodeo queens stay with local residents when they're visiting the town. Here, she'll change her clothes for the evening. Now, to stand out at a rodeo, the queen will typically wear something very sparkly and bright. I heard the ladies of the DAR like a little bit of bling in their wardrobes too. So see, we just have so much in common. My favorite look of all was the red, white, and blue to go with our patriotism that we feel as rodeo people. Many queens have custom chaps displaying their title, so the girls will sometimes choose an outfit to go with that. To answer your question, yes, rodeo queens do require big closets, and sadly, old habits die hard. Just ask my poor husband. I have 3 closets at home. Now at the rodeo, her job really begins. First, she's expected to ride in the grand entry, smile, and wave to the crowd. Then she may be responsible for carrying Old Glory. As I said earlier, that is one of the highest honors a rodeo queen can get. This brings to mind one of my most unusual rodeo queen stories from high school. I had competed twice for queen and earned the title of first runner-up yet again. But the officials running the rodeo knew that I was capable of carrying a flag and filling in. However, I was also the national anthem singer. One Sunday morning, the rodeo I was at found themselves short of either an anthem singer or a flag carrier. So their solution was that I should do both. No problem, I've done that before. However, unlike previous rodeos that had a headset I could put under my hat, this particular rodeo only had a microphone. Now, I'm quite loud, but I am not loud enough to belt the national anthem from mid-arena without a mic. I looked down at my horse Boots, patted him confidently, stuck the mic in my back pocket, picked up the flag, and as the announcer was reading a prayer, rode into the arena saying a prayer of my own. Boots and I made our way to the middle, and I found my mark. I prayed that Boots wasn't going to get any wild hairs, pulled out my mic, and laid the reins down, so there was nobody controlling him while I had the mic in one hand and the flag in the other. Now, Boots was known to be quite squirrely at times, and he had this really bad habit of bucking my sister off in the middle of the arena every time she tried to rope off of him. So he was a little bit unpredictable, but one thing you should know is he was my baby, and he was also pretty lazy. While other horses might have been looking around, Boots took the opportunity to put his head down, close his eyes, and take a little nap, much to my mother's relief. I'm pretty sure she put a hole in her jeans on her knees, praying he wouldn't decide to be a bucking horse right then and there, but we managed. It was one of my many fond memories of rodeo queen life. Back to the typical rodeo though, such as Nebraska's big rodeo. The queen's job will be to run sponsor flags at the event. The rodeo is very dependent on support from its sponsors, so displaying their flag proudly is a big job. What's more important to the stock contractor, however, is getting her in and out of there in under 30 seconds. Now that you've all seen how big our arena is in Burwell, you will know that the trick is to go fast and fly low. It's a tough job. Her final job at the rodeo will be to guide the livestock, such as the cattle who have just been roped and rustled, into the cleaning chute at the opposite end of the arena, where they can have any ropes or protective gear removed before being released to their pens to eat their nightly meal. On average, rodeo livestock will work 6 to 8 seconds per weekend, which is not a bad way to make a living. Finally, the rodeo queen will end her night with another round of autograph signing, photos with fans, and big smiles for all. She spent all day educating everyone she meets about the sport of rodeo, promoting her sport and her country, and preserving history one rodeo at a time. I hope that this peek into a day in the life of a rodeo queen has given you a look at the rodeo queen lifestyle. And while most of you may never don a tiara on top of a cowboy hat, our similar values of education, historic preservation, and patriotism are themes that can unite us all.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I know with, as I say, my complications of the last 3 weeks, your gift will be coming to you probably when you sub for me next. So we will definitely take care of you. I was going to go ahead and digress and share two of my favorite Nebraska's Big Rodeo stories. And one of them was, and I know some of you, this name might sound familiar, Rex Dunn, the rodeo clown. He was actually a frequent basement visitor of my Uncle Don and Aunt Jeannie. So I actually got to get to know bull riders and rodeo clowns up and close when I was very little. Another of my favorite memories was, and Amy Balla knows this as well, that I live, my house that my parents have and my Uncle Don's house are across the street from each other. Well, my cousin Randy, when he was in college, was part of the University of Nebraska rodeo team. So one morning we wake up and Don and Jeannie's yard was full of tents. Mom and Dad's yard was full of tents. And we were hosting the whole rodeo team in our 2 yards. And then the other people that didn't fit went over to my grandma's house. So there's kind of a running joke in Burwell that, hey, if the hotels run out, be prepared to share your living room. And I know my family has lived that a number of times. So as I say, I know sharing some of these stories of rodeo and the inside of a rodeo queen help you have what I call the lighthearted view, and even to Kelly's speech tonight, a great after dinner speech view, and I'll give you an A for that. In regards to, as I say, sharing that Western heritage. But I will digress, as a good friend of mine says, and I want to share with you just a little bit of what could be parts of the type description for the future rodeo marker in Burwell. And I'll go ahead and let the slide change. I think there should be a picture slide because I need to point out a few pictures on that, if I may. In 1921, citizens of Burwell, Nebraska decided to put their community on the map with an annual celebration for the community. They chose to begin a rodeo which reflected the Western heritage of the town. The first rodeo was held in September in 1921. And since that time, nearly every professional rodeo champion who's pulled on a pair of boots or has trampled through this historic arena in Burwell. In the early years of Nebraska's Big Rodeo, swelled and trainloads of people traveled from Lincoln and Omaha. Crowds were nearly 20,000 daily at that time, squeezing into the small Burwell community for wholesome family entertainment. The 1930s saw Burwell become one of the most important stops in the circuit of championship cowboys. Although times were hard and the weather was dry, the show at Nebraska's Big Rodeo always went on and brightened the lives of many during this bleak time in history. In the 1940 war years, the rodeo was canceled for the first and last time ever. At the request of the President of the United States, the show did not appear in 43, 44, or 45. However, the 46 show saw the biggest crowds in history of the event. And in 1948, the rodeo expanded to include 4 performances to accommodate its fans, as well as top contenders, such as the great Jim Shoulders and one of my favorites in rodeo, Casey Tibbs. Nebraska's Big Rodeo stepped up with the times in the 50s and added specialty acts such as trick riders, chuck wagon races to the schedule. On a personal note, I will point to the horse racing picture because in the 1960s, horse racing was one of the many auxiliary events of the rodeo, including the running of the Nebraska Quarter Horse Association race. One of the reasons that this photo is so special to me is because, and I'll try to point out, on the far right side is my Aunt Jeannie, my grandma, Mrs. Chaffin, my godmother, my Aunt Vonnie. For those of you, the short kid is my cousin Randy, my bull riding cousin.
my mom in the cool late 60s shades, then my dad and my uncle. This was one of their great horses since Mr. D, and they are the only horse racers that actually won the Nebraska bred fraternity when it was actually in Burwell. And I know growing up, horses were a very important part of my life, and I was sad that I didn't get in on the full glory years of the family. But as I say, the photos live on, and even as my dad says, I was always the cuter Kane brother in the pictures. The 1960s also saw the new breed of cowboys who flew into town for rodeo events, recognizing it as a true sport. And many of these cowboys would fly into Burwell and then fly into Cheyenne. Events through the 70s saw the Nebraska agriculture community take a turn for the worse, but Nebraska's big rodeo was strong. In the 1990s to 2000s, they have been a period of revitalization for both the community of Burwell and Nebraska's big rodeo. Nebraska's big rodeo and the Garfield County Fair are held annually on the original 40 acres grounds of the facility listed on the National Registry of Historic Places. The grounds includes one of the world's largest outdoor rodeo arenas, a 3/4 mile track, and the original wooden covered grandstands. So I want to say happy trails to you all till we meet again, and that hopefully will be for some of us on July 28th through the 31st of 2021 in Burwell. I'm happy to say that your state regents project is very close to being able to submit the application to purchase the marker. And I want to thank each of you for your continued support. So thank you. And before we talk about one other thing, so those of you who know, I work the ticket booth. So that is going to be approximately right here, and that's my portal. I get the VIPs and the credit cards. And then usually during the day, I help Amy Bell and my fellow chapter members run the DAR quilt show. And then usually from about 9:30 till 2 in the morning, I am the chaperone for the FCCLA teen dance that usually has over the weekend close to 1,000 teenagers. And that nice little bright area towards the bottom right, that's the dance pavilion. So as I say, I'm one of those volunteers that sometimes wears as many as 4 hats. And I will truly reflect the statement in the video, and Kelly knows this, Amy knows this, Justin knows this. And sometimes when you're in town, you see a person about 5 different places volunteering. But it's because we all love it. And I know that's very similar to how we all love DAR. It is now customary throughout the state conference to have representatives of Lineage Society bring greetings. I was going to check in the live assemblage if there's anyone that would like to give a specific greeting at this time, and then we will do the roll call of the Lineage Society. So I believe Bev would maybe like to sneak up at this time and give a specific greeting, because I'm happy to announce that you have been elected the National Counselor. And I know we also have another state official, and so I'll let you go ahead and take care of the rest of the introduction and bring greetings.
Hello, I'm Bev Sheely, and I bring greetings today from the National Society Descendants of American Farmers. Janice Sue Regal is our founder and first president national, and Davina Liebman, our registrar national and founder. Many greetings.
Is there anyone else in the live assemblage? If not, here's how we will do this for this year only. And I know it is customary of one person to stand up and bring greetings, as the title is called, but I do not want to, as I say, with our digital blended conference, I figure it'll be best that for those in the live assemblage, please rise. For those of you in the digital assemblage, feel free to wave and give a big rodeo queen wave, since Kelly showed us that earlier tonight, as we go through the list. And tonight's list is of 63 organizations. I would like to thank Amy Lambert for helping with that. And I know a lot of you helped with the Facebook poll that helped in comprising and expanding this list. And I know that there's even some additional ones that I have missed. So please, those of you in the digital world, add those to the chat. We will do live shout outs, of course, from the assemblage here in person. Yes, yes, yeah. So those of you who are watching, watch for the groups so then you know when to wave. So we will do these in order, and you'll follow along with the slides. So tonight, we have greetings from the Daughters of Union Veterans of the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Ladies of the Grand Army of the Republic. Daughters of Union Veterans. United Daughters of the Confederacy. Jamestown Society. Louisiana Colonists. National Society Colonial Dames of the 17th Century. National Society of Daughters of American Colonists. And on behalf of your state regent of Daughters of American Colonists, who could be wearing a different sash color, I bring you greetings. And I'm happy that tomorrow night, those of you, we will actually be honoring 2 ROTC candidates, both with the DAR and DAC ROTC medal. The Order and Descendants of Colonial Physician and Surgeons, Afro American Family Association, International Society of Daughters of Utah Pioneers, Descendants of Cape Cod and the Islands, and Cheryl Clark is waving a whole bunch for those of you who are in digital land. Flagon and Trenchant Descendants of Colonial Taverns and Keepers, Prairie Pioneers of Illinois, First Families of Connecticut, First Families of Kentucky, First Families of New Jersey, woohoo! First Families of Ohio, First Families of South Carolina, First Families of Tennessee, First Families of the Shenandoah Valley, Order of the First Families of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, Huguenot Society of South Carolina, National Huguenot Society, National Society of Early Quakers, General Society of Mayflower Descendants, Pilgrim Edward Dot Society, Doty, sorry, I stand corrected, thank you. Pilgrim Hopkins Heritage Society, Winslow Heritage Society, the American Legion Auxiliary, the American Legion Riders, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Auxiliary, Veterans of Foreign Wars, National Society of New England Women, National Society Sons and Daughters of Pilgrims, and I'm going to mispronounce this, so if I do, please guide me. Piscataqua Pioneers, thank you, Deb Miner, Piscataqua. I need to work on my articulation, I apologize. Society of Middletown Settlers of Descendants, Wing Family of America, of course, our National Society Descendants of American Farmers, National Society Southern Dames of America, National Sod House Society, Association Daughters of Early American Witches, and I know we have a few of those, and for those of you, that is the Black Swan. I know we have a few of those in our state. National Society Women Descendants of Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company, Order Descendants of Native Americans and Friends, Society Descendants of Colonial Clergy, and those of you who were members of the National Society Children of the American Revolution, feel free to wave. Heritage Order of the Families of Presidents and First Ladies of America. I want to join that one. National Society Daughters of Founders and Patriots of America. National Society Washington Family Descendants. National Society Colonial Order of the Crown. National Society Magna Carta Dames, Plantagenet Society, Sovereign Society of American Royal Descent, Clan Keith Society of the United States, Clan Stewart Society of America, Daughters of Holland Dames, National Society Daughters of 1812, Daughters of the Republic of Texas, National Society Dames of the Court of Honor, National Society Daughters of Colonial Wars, and last but not least, we have a very special greeting from the Society of Boonesboro. And we'll have one more new one. Okay.
Hello, Candy. I would like to bring greetings to you and the Society. from the SOBs, and you know who those are. The Society of Boonesboro in Kentucky. Have a wonderful meeting. I wish I was there. Thank you.
Let us give a special applause to Miss Martha, and I know that that's one of our favorites, and I know that there's even a few that would admire to become an SOB. Are there any other further societies that have not been announced? Yes, please.
The National Society Descendants of Railroad Workers.
National Society Descendants of Railroad Workers, and I believe that is a new society within the past like 2 months. 1 month. So act now, ladies, be a part of the original founders.
Yes.
Get out those applications, and who knows, next year. So 1835 to 1914, check your ancestry. Yes, Deb.
Society of the Descendants of Washington's Army at Valley Forge.
Society of the Descendants of Washington at Valley Forge. And there is a request on chat for more on the railroad workers one. So we will get that posted on the Nebraska Facebook page. So Stephanie, we will get that to you definitely. At this time, I believe we can now check for announcements, correct? So we will go ahead and Jackie, conference liaison, or anyone else, do we have any specific announcements?
I have follow-on slides for you.
Okay, so we will go ahead. Shall we review those real quick? Okay, please go ahead. So of course, find ways to support the State Regents Project. For those of you not physically here, please send me an email or letter and check, and I will gladly mail out to you what you so desire. And raffle tickets, again, will be sold through state conference next year. So as I say, I was asked to highlight the quilt a little bit. The quilt that is item A was actually a quilt that was in my hopeless chest, one of 5 that my grandma Kane and some various community members worked on. It is Depression era fabric and was hand pieced. And I felt it was fitting for the higher need of taking care of Burwell and this rodeo marker. And I know that'll go to a loving home eventually. So as I say, buy raffle tickets on the quilt. Next slide, please. The State Regents fundraiser. So there is a new pin in honor of the pandemic. So to go with your Sunshine Mask pins, check with Stacy Farrell, and pins are available for donation. And as I say, check in with Stacy for the order form. And I believe that is on the Facebook page, correct pages? Thank you. Next slide. The barn quilt books are available for $35.90. Deb, do we have some still remaining?
Apparently not. And if you purchased one, please come see me and fill out a form.
So they are now sold out.
Yeah,
So perfect.
Thank you. Never mind.
Okay. All right. Next. Again, remember the President General sales and remember the special code. Again, that is only valid through the 14th. And remember our insignia sales. Again, you can shop and get more bling because again, there's never enough bling for a rodeo queen or a DAR. And then new, remember there is the drawing to help support the Good Citizen Award and JAC. Again, there will be selling a limited number of raffle tickets on those. So you can purchase them here on site or please send a message and we will try to get those lined up. Linda Hayden is point of contact on that. And then new by fund demand will be our bingo party. So I know after we recess tonight, go back to your room, grab your bingo cards. We do have some limited ones available.
12 available. We have 10 available. But I have 2 still.
10 available. And there are some fabulous prizes, including one of the limited edition Nebraska State Regent purses with a pin. So as I say, come and play bingo. And that is our last slide. Are there any further announcements? Thank you for coming. As I say, feel free to socialize as we are recessed. Would Chaplain Bev please give the benediction? Will you please rise?
Is bingo in here?
Bingo will be in here, please. And on Zoom.
Oops. Okay. Heavenly Father, we give thanksgiving for a beautiful and successful first full day of our 119th state conference. We pray for unity of heart and mind as we leave this meeting. We ask thy blessing and guidance that we might have the vision, the strength, the wisdom, and the courage to successfully lead this society into the future. We pray for our society and all our members, and may all that we accomplish in the remaining days of this administration be to your honor and glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing as the American flag is retired and the pages recess. This meeting will stand in recess until tomorrow. The memorial service will begin at 9 a.m. Central Time, both in person and on Zoom. The business session will begin promptly at 10 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. Good evening, and we will see you tomorrow.